My name is Brian Kelley, and welcome back to another edition of Talk of the Town. I have a special guest today. I'm here with Eric Dawson. Eric, welcome to the show.
Good to see you, Brian.
Before I introduce him officially, I can tell you something. The reason Eric is here, because if you read the Boston Globe, just about a week ago, there was an article in the Globe, and it said, "A Nobel for Young People." And Boston Globe starts off, it says, "At a time when news of war and mass shootings dominate our headlines, it's more important than ever to amplify the voices of peacemakers who are quietly working for positive change. These actions are all the more inspiring when they come from the youngest members of society." So let me tell you a little bit about Eric and what that has to do with that Boston Globe article. Eric is the president and co-founder of an organization called Peace First. Let's see, an organization he helped launch when he was just 18, and you can see he's only about 20 now. Peace First works on the twin challenges of youth violence and disengagement by preparing young children with the skills to be peacemakers. For over 2 decades, Peace First has successfully taught the critical skills of peacemaking, which is conflict resolution and civic engagement skills, to young people ages 3 to 14. Providing training in 32 states and 23 countries with extremely promising data. A 60% decrease in disruptive incidences at schools, 81% of students reporting that they can walk away from a fight. The organization is exponentially increasing its reach and impact. It tells me that your organization is working in areas such as New York, LA, Johannesburg, Colombia, Fairbanks, Alaska. And so you have a proven track record of helping people work out their issues, peacemaking. And I see here, you're originally from the Midwest, but you're in the Boston area now. You got a scholarship to Harvard, is that correct?
That's right.
And then you kind of got stuck here, okay?
Now I drive like a Bostonian.
And you actually used to be a driver for the author of Curious George, eh?
That's right. Yeah, she used to yell at me in German.
You're an Ashoka Fellow. What is an Ashoka Fellow?
Ashoka is a global network of social entrepreneurs, so people all over the world who are working to solve complex social problems in new ways.
All right, and you're also an Echoing Green world-renowned fellow. What's that mean?
Very similar group of people. So Echoing Green functions very much like a venture capital company, except in the social space.
And they provide funding to organizations that are working in the
They
social
gave me
space?
my first big chunk of money when I was 22 and wanted to do something crazy rather than going to business school or medical school.
So you're either a good salesman or a hell of a guy.
Or maybe,
Which one is it?
Or maybe both.
Okay, and a pop tech fellow, what does that mean?
So PopTech is a phenomenal organization that convenes thought leaders from around the globe every year at a conference in Camden, Maine. And they decided to choose a number of us that they thought were doing interesting things, not just in the media or in the business sector, but we're actually working for social change.
All right. Well, you know, Eric, with the Newtown shooting, I mean, matter of fact, talking about, just before the show, you told me you just came back. Where were you yesterday? Now, this is being recorded, but yesterday before you came to the studio, where were you?
I was at the White House. So President Obama and Vice President Biden were announcing a series of initiatives in response to the Newtown shootings, but really all the mass shootings that we've seen recently, to see if the government can't do something to help prevent those tragic things from happening.
So one of the things that's on the table is gun control, different changes with the gun laws, but also people are talking about mental health. But this is another area that could really help prevent gun violence in the future, is what you're doing. It's about peacemaking. It's about people not feeling alienated or feeling that they have to use violence as a way to, I don't know, express their dissatisfaction with the world. So tell us how your organization, Peace First, and you're also coming out with a peace prize for kids, basically. A Peace First prize, is that what it is?
That's right, yeah.
And so what, is that a dollar amount? Is there a dollar amount attached to that? What is that?
Right, so the big idea is that we as a country don't call our young people to anything, right? We don't, right? So I grew up in the Just Say No generation where Nancy Reagan went on different strokes and told me not to use drugs.
And you didn't, of course.
And I didn't, of course,
Okay.
if you're watching, Mom. And now we've got this zero tolerance, don't be a bully, don't be a mean kid. And even in response to the shootings that took place in Newtown, the language around that is stopping bad things from happening. And all important things, but the challenge is that that's not an inviting opportunity for young people, right? So if I tell you to just say no to drugs, then what am I telling you to say yes to? And so the idea behind the Peace First Prize is to invite young people between the ages of 8 and 22 to try out being a peacemaker. And when we talk about peacemaking, we're not talking about holding hands and singing songs.
No kumbaya?
No kumbaya.
Okay.
We're not talking about Gandhi or Dr. King. You know, the problem with peacemaking is we tend to think of it as passive, or we tend to think about these great figures in history that we could never be like. But what we want to do is take this concept of peacemaking and make it much more muscular and much more accessible for young people. So the idea is that when your kids come home, the first thing you ask them is, how were you a peacemaker today? How did you treat people in your class? Did you see someone struggling? Did you help them? Did you stand up for someone who's being picked on? So the Peace First Prize is really imagined like a Nobel Peace Prize, but for young people.
Okay.
So it's a national search. We're doing this with, we just rolled out with 50 million young people around the country. So we're working with the teachers' unions and the superintendents and Girl Scouts and Big Brothers, Big Sisters, you name it. And the idea is to find those young people who've demonstrated three things. Courage, so they've taken personal risk and shown perseverance. Compassion, so they've crossed lines of difference to connect with other people. And collaborative change. So we're looking for young people who've done leadership work in their local community. So we're not looking for the young person who runs into a burning building to save a family or who raises $1 million for schools in Haiti. Great things.
Sure.
What we want is that young person who brings together rival groups in her community for a lasting peace treaty, or the young person whose best friend gets beat up and starts a gay-straight alliance to change the culture of his high school. Those delicate, transformative, courageous acts of peace. And 5 of those young people will receive a 2-year, $50,000 fellowship to invest in their peacemaking work. Wow. Right? So it's not just saying, congratulations, you're a peacemaker, good job, but actually bringing these young people together many times a year to develop their skills, to be spokespeople, to be national leaders for peace.
And then would your organization or an organization that you're affiliated with will work with those people to help them get the most value out of that prize?
Exactly. The way I think about it is, you know, God forbid there's another school shooting, and we know the scene, right? It's CNN, you've got the police commissioner, the mental health expert. Well, we want a 17-year-old Peace First fellow offering a different side of the story. You know, Brian, the problem is we tend to look at young people as either victims or potential victims that we need to protect, or they're perpetrators that we need to punish. So we incarcerate young people, we medicate young people, we turn our schools into prisons, either literally with metal detectors and police officers, or figuratively with zero-tolerance policies. And the work of Peace First, my life's work, is having a different idea, which is that, yeah, sometimes young people cause problems. Yes, sometimes young people are victims. But most young people are doing good things, right? They're peacemakers. They're resolving conflicts without fighting. They're engaged in their communities. And those are the stories that we want to tell behind the Peace First Prize.
So the Peace First Prize is looking for those people that have already been the peacemakers, because obviously they've already done something to qualify for the prize. What does your organization do to create more peacemakers? Do you have programs for schools that you go into the schools? So if somebody's watching this show now, could they go to their school administration and say, I'd like you to communicate with Peace First, because I'd like to see if they can bring some of their programs into the school that can help with bullying and help with communication and help create peacemakers. Do you do that?
Absolutely. So for over the past 20 years, we've built a best-in-class program that really does 2 things. So at its core, we're integrating peacemaking into the core DNA of a school. Right? So this is what Peace First schools do. It's who they are. So students get Peace First as a class, the same way they get math, science.
Oh,
exactly.
it's a class, okay.
Like math, science, social studies, every week, every year, starting in preschool when they're 3 or 4 and going through 8th grade.
Okay.
So it's not a one-day, put on a T-shirt, parade around the school kind of program. It's an integrated approach to teaching kids 3 basic concepts: cooperation, communication, conflict resolution, which they learn in the first half of the year, and then civic engagement. So every single one of our students, from the itty-bitty ones up to the teenagers, needs to identify a community problem, develop a solution, and implement it. So we have kindergartners who start recycling programs, first graders who write joke books for children waiting in waiting rooms in Children's Hospital. We had a group of 8th graders who thought their teachers were sexist, Basically, their concern was the teachers would ask the boys to move boxes and desks, but never the girls. And these are 14-year-old girls, right? So they are literally 4 times the size of the boys. And they said, this isn't fair. So they put on this really beautiful professional development workshop for their teachers about Title IX and gender discrimination. They wrote poetry. So the idea is to unleash young people's moral imaginations to change their schools, their communities, the world. And then the other thing we do is work on the school culture. So we really work to support adults to integrate this work into their school framework. So we support family engagement work, we support work around rituals and practices, ways that schools can communicate a clear set of values that peacemaking is an essential part of what students need to learn. And our curriculum now is all up online, it's free. So
Really?
You're a 4th grade teacher here in Milton, you can download the curriculum. You're a parent, it's a rainy day, your kids are driving you crazy. You could go online and pull up a cooperative game about communication that you could do right in your home.
Is it available for Congress?
We're working on that. Special congressional issue. We need to tweak it a little bit. They're not quite up to that preschool cooperation level yet. We'll get there.
Well, if you start with the young,
We start them young.
they will become the civic leaders of the political leaders someday as they develop that confidence and everything.
That's exactly it. I mean, I think about, who's going to be in the White House, who's going to be in Congress, who's going to be, in the Milton City Hall,
Right.
and what are those young people learning today? I'm not just talking about basic skills about how to communicate or how to work together, but I'm talking about a culture. I mean, what happens if you see someone at your school being picked on? What if it's someone that you don't like? What are the choices that you make, and how do you get engaged and be a problem solver?
So how did this all come out? How did you get involved with this at such a young age, 18? Did you just find something? You were involved with a camp or something in Massachusetts? You started working a camp of some sort, an inner city camp or something? What happened? How did this get triggered in your mind? How did this come about?
So I actually got my start as a youth organizer when I was in high school. So I went to a huge suburban high school, 2,800 kids, so not unlike Milton. And it was the start of the inclusion movement. So students with disabilities, developmental disabilities, physical disabilities, were being mainstreamed for the first time. So basically you had students who'd been kept in substantially separate classrooms, being brought into gym class and music class and lunchtime, and basically getting the crap beat out of them. Insulted, made fun of, humiliated. And I was 14 years old, I was a freshman. And this bothered me, and this bothered not just me, but a group of young people. And that's an important thing to remember, and this isn't modesty, that all of our work, whether it's Dr. King's work, whether it's my work at Peace First, is collaborative work, right? I work with a great team of people. I inherited great big ideas that I hope to pass on to the next generation. So now as a freshman, I joined with other students, and we really worked to change the culture of our high school. So to make that sort of taunting, bullying, et cetera, unacceptable.
Right.
And not because the administration outlawed it, but student to student changing the culture of our school. And of course that didn't feel like enough. So we actually created a program to train every 4th, 5th, and 6th grader in my school district around disability awareness work. So the kernels of Peace First, which is teaching these skills, but teaching them through interactive, playful, engaging ways, goes all the way back to my high school experience of teaching young people about disability awareness.
Wow. You've come a long way.
I have.
So I'm looking here, and so the website, so if people are interested in finding more about Peace First and about the prize and about nominations for the prize, they can go to the website. It's peacefirst.org, is it?
Peacefirst.org, absolutely.
Okay. I'm just looking at some of my notes. So how can they get involved with the prize, people? They can just go to the website? Is that what they need to do, first of all?
Yeah, there are really 2 things I would love people to do. One is,
Tell us what you want them to do.
so this is your assignment.
Okay. Should you choose to accept it?
There's no choice involved.
Okay.
This is an order.
Okay.
No, just kidding. So one is go on the website and nominate a young person. And the thing to keep in mind is we want thousands and thousands of nominations. We want nominations of young people in every community in every state because we want to tell those stories, right? We're running a competition, we'll have 5 winners, but we want to have thousands of stories to tell.
Okay.
I don't know if you know this statistic, but it's one that continues to bother me. The Berkeley Media Studies Group, which is a group out in Berkeley, California, studied all the news stories about young people that took place over the course of the year.
90% are negative.
99%. Of all those stories, only 1% were positive. Gallup does a survey of adults, and they found that 71% of adults have a negative image of young people. 71% of adults think that young people are lazy, apathetic, dangerous. And so getting these nominations in, telling these stories, is trying to shift that culture.
And are you going to try to communicate those stories out to the world?
We have a great group of partners. So Family Circle Magazine.
I saw
is
that
our
on your
print
website,
partner.
Family Circle, yeah.
CNN, USA Network. We have a great group of celebrity ambassadors.
Who are some of your celebrity ambassadors that are helping you get the word out?
So America Ferrera, who is the star of Ugly Betty, actually taught Peace First when she was in college.
Really?
Members of the cast of Modern Family, Parks and Recreation,
I love
Saturday
Modern
Night
Family.
Live.
That's the funniest show.
And what's great is these are...
So they're involved with it, eh?
And not just involved, but they're actually coming to visit schools. They're making this part of their core message.
Okay.
And so the first thing that folks can do is just nominate young people, read the stories. And then the second thing is to spread the word. You know, spread it to your houses of worship, spread it to your alumni groups, get the word out, because the more young people we have being nominated, the more stories we're going to have to tell.
And so, so it's not a waste of time for people to nominate, know how big or how small the action that they think the nominee has been involved in.
Exactly.
They shouldn't prejudge that that wouldn't be something worthy of Peace First's attention.
Exactly, because at the very least, they're going to get recognized by us. Right, so maybe you're 12
So that's a nice
years of
way
age
to have a young person get recognized.
Exactly.
For doing what they've done.
Exactly.
So if they've done some anti-bullying things or something like that, they stood up for someone. Okay, well, this is pretty exciting times.
Yeah, it is.
I'm surprised you even still talk to me. I mean, you're really moving up there. You've been on TED Talks, haven't you? Were you on TED? I thought I saw you on TED.
I haven't been, but you know, Brian.
One of the talks, I saw you online. I looked on. I thought it was. You haven't been on TED yet?
Nope.
Sorry, folks. You better go now. You will be on TED.
You know, Brian, when you call, I have to show up.
Well, you know, you should be on TED someday because it's about innovation, technology, education, design, and you are really re-engineering the outlook for our young people, which will change the world. And when I read a little bit of your background and everything, it's all about, you got those awards and those fellows because people believe that your ideas, if executed well, can change society.
Look, Brian, I think people are hungry for something different. I mean, deeply hungry for something different, right? A different set of messages, a different set of ideas. And the whole goal of the prize is to spark a conversation. It was interesting being back at the White House because I'd been there about a decade before after the shootings in Littleton, Colorado, at Columbine. And I remember I was 24 at the time, and I was sitting around this table of CEOs of major media companies and other companies around the world and around the country, and everyone's going around saying, this is what we need to do about young people and violence. And I remember raising my hand and saying, you know, how can we have a conversation about youth violence without any young people around the table? Right? We don't engage young people as problem solvers, right? We want to wrap them up and protect them,
They're
or we get angry at them.
problem makers, not
Right.
problem solvers in many people's.
Exactly. And that's a story that we want to change.
Very nice. Well, I'm excited for you, and I was happy to see the article in the Globe, and I'm happy to hear that people are listening and people are getting engaged, and I wish you and Peace First a tremendous amount of success.
Well, I appreciate
you've already
that.
had the success, but now, and so when will the prize be given?
So we actually just launched last week. So this is actually the first official
So I saw something
television
over the
announcement.
the Clinton Foundation. Did they have something to do with this too?
Yes, Chelsea Clinton has been a big supporter of our work.
Do you know Chelsea Clinton?
I get the opportunity to work with her.
So are they helping support your organization?
Yes, they've been very supportive. And so the prize launched last week. Nominations close in mid-April, but we still want people to get them in early so we can start telling the stories.
And the paperwork you can get is online?
Really easy. There are 2 questions that we ask, and then we'll announce winners next fall.
And this is peacefirst.org. I'm sitting here with Eric Dawson. He's the president and co-founder. And who's the other co-founder?
Dozens of people. I've had a great group of co-leaders.
That's just you, all-encompassing.
That's true.
Man, oh man. Well, Eric, I wish you tremendous success. I know you're already doing it, and you'll continue, and
Thanks,
I hope you change the world.
We have to.
Okay? You are changing it. One child at a time.
One child.
But I think you need to expand it. There should be some adult programs.
It's all integrated.
Because it's still the same concept, learning how to deal with conflict and have an understanding of a different person's viewpoint.
Absolutely.
Because if
Even
you-
here in Milton.
Especially in Milton.
Especially in Milton.
We don't have any conflicts in Milton.
None whatsoever.
And folks, maybe we can have them come to town meeting and speak with us. Eric, thank you very much. Folks, I appreciate you spending the afternoon. Oh, we had a few pictures. Hey, Mike, can you close out with a couple of pictures for Peace First? Let's see, Eric, just tell what these are.
So this is a group of kindergartners at one of our schools who are exploring what it means to be a peacemaker at a very young age.
My Peacemaker book, okay.
This is a phenomenal project a group of students did to reclaim brownfields at their school and turn them into community gardens.
Okay.
This is a group doing a peace march. This is a school that's in a high tension area between a Latino community and African American community. The students came together after a young person was murdered to help change the culture. Again, young people leading. And this is a group of young volunteers who are painting a mural as a way to communicate what it means to be a peacemaker, that anyone can do it. This is another great picture of a garden. Students reclaiming areas that had been brown and gross and creating healthy opportunities to produce food and to connect with one another. And
Well, I guess that's it. So you're going to come back on, after we show pictures of the recipients.
I'd love
getting the
that.
award and all that stuff.
maybe
We'll talk about
we'll some nominees here in Milton that we can interview and they can tell their stories.
I think we should. So, folks, we need to get some nominees in. So go to the peacefirst.org website, look at the criteria again, rewind this show if you want. But let's get some nominations in. We have a lot of great young people in town, and
Fantastic.
we need to hear their stories.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Folks, again, thank you for watching Talk of the Town, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.